Yep. I know. Oh, fuck. And hello, one and all. We are back once again. We are back with the weekly armchair kickoff. I am joined today by Julio, Callum, and Nathan. Lads, how are you getting on?
All good over here.
Yeah, all good, mate.
That's the stuff. For once, I'm the only Irish guy on stream. This can go one of two ways here. So, but look, we're not going to be talking about England. We're not going to be talking about Ireland. We're going to be talking about Manchester, what we're all here to talk about normally. So, while a lot has happened since we've been away, we're going to kind of focus on more recent events, and we'll start with last night, tonight, or this morning, whichever way you want to talk about it. It was the United versus Arsenal over in Los Angeles in the SoFi Stadium. And I'm just going to get your thoughts on the match to start, lads. So, Callum, if you want to start with that.
Yeah, I mean, it probably would have helped if I actually watched the game, mate. But I caught like clips and stuff the following day. I'll be honest, I'd be a terrible overseas fan because there's no way I was staying up at 1 a.m. to watch a pre-season match. I could not be bothered. Yeah, apparently there was from the clips I've seen, it seemed like there was some positive things to speak about. I know Harry Amass has been quite lauded for some of his maturity that he's shown. Hoyland's obviously, I think Hoyland scored as well, did he?
Yeah.
I think he did.
So Hoyland got the only goal, yeah.
Yeah, and I saw, to be fair, so it was Hoyland one who scored. I saw the goal, and it was something that we didn't really see that much of last season. So I always try and look for positives within in pre-season, and because that is literally all it is. It's pre-season. It's match fitness. It's just to get some minutes in the legs for so many players. People that are online going crazy about losing games they need to get a grip of themselves, to be honest.
Yeah,
and if they're going to and it's the same culprits all the time. It's the same culprits that have the blue ticks, and it's just useless. Like just watch the game. It's not that big of a deal. But it's like I say, it's nice to see some of the lads back fit again. All the negatives were the obvious. I believe Lenny Oro, or Yoro, however you say it. I think he hurt his ankle, and Hoyland's pulled his hamstring. So it seems the injuries. I mean, the pitch wasn't great, was it? I believe it was a plastic pitch, which is never good. But of course, it's a pre-season tour that we, of course, had to do. Yeah, lots of positives. Let's see how long these players are out for. Hopefully, they're back in a couple of weeks. But we'll see. Yeah, happy so far with pre-season. The coaches look like they're better as well, so it's nice to see.
Yeah, because I'll be honest though, I watched the entirety of the first half. I'll be honest, I probably fell asleep at about the 65th, 70th minutes, I'd say. To be fair, when you're just trying to stay awake for that long and try to watch it, it is a bit difficult. So credit to the overseas fans for all the different time zones and everything. I tried it. I couldn't hack it. I tried, but no, like I watched the first half. I was very impressed with how the first half ran, and I was going to talk about standout players. Harry Amass being one of them, Toby Collier being another. But I suppose like we've heard enough about these two players. We've heard enough about Cavimania. We've heard enough about Garnacho coming through the ranks. So it was nice to actually see them be able to step up to the how should I say, it's the level of the first team to adapt to it as well. One player that stood out to me for the second half, because he started off quite well. Now I suppose the second half, from what I remember seeing, was very touch and go. It wasn't as hot paced, fast, quick football like we should expect. Say we managed to show a style of play, believe it or not, in the first half. Second half, between it being the second string players and then kind of fringe players and then the youth players, it was a bad mix, and you could tell there wasn't anything really there. Julio, I'm not too sure if you caught in the game. Would you agree with that?
I'm very much in the same boat as Callum with this, where I didn't watch too much. I was more about the clips. I think I I don't really care for preseason. I remember preseason 2014 in the States where King Louis made us think we were going to win the league, and then we didn't win for the first 4 games of the season, So
Yeah.
I think ever since then I've learned to take preseason with a pinch of salt. Look, for me, it's just a bunch of practice games. Like, we looked really good against Arsenal last year in preseason, and we have come off the back of one of our worst seasons in recent memory.
Yeah, that's a fair point. Yeah.
So if you watch that game, you'd think we were the ones running City close to the league and not Arsenal. But, it didn't happen like that. We all saw what happened. I just think the key is players are coming back from their holidays and, their European Championships and other tournaments. So really preseason is just giving them minutes, getting them back match fit, and seeing if Ten Hag can build on whatever we saw from last season, trying to form a style of play, and hopefully his instructions will come across a lot better now. There was that report at the end of the season where players were not necessarily ignoring his instructions, but they were playing 20 yards further away from where he wanted them to play. And just hope that those kind of issues is rectified. There were players who were unsure about their instructions. Hopefully that can be more clearer now. So, yeah, I think the only other thing is, how did we lose a match and then somehow do a penalty shootout and win that?
Oh, I was actually explaining that to my fiance this morning, because she asked me, did they win in the end? And I said, they did. And she goes, what the hell do you mean by that? I goes, for some reason, the Americans wanted a penalty shootout after the match. No matter win, lose, or draw, you get a penalty shootout. I'm still like, it was stupid. But no, to build on your point about players coming back from holidays, Nathan looks like he's after coming back from holidays. So I'll come to him next. I suppose we'll kind of build off the whole entirety of the match. And of course, like I was saying there, first half was flowing football, lovely bit of play. And then 10 minutes in, after, we'll say about 2 minutes after Highland scored the first goal, great finish no less, he gets injured. 20 minutes later, Lenny Yoro gets injured. I was surprised I didn't wake up to hear another injury in the second half. But Nathan, I'll come to you on this one. Do you think that the injuries are going to stay as a curse to United once again? Or do you think these two were just freak accidents? Because there was talk about whether the pitch was an artificial pitch or whether it was freshly put down for the game. I look at the fact that the Americans don't normally play soccer, football, whatever we have to call it, that they might tend to use the more artificial pitches. So it just didn't look good. It looked too fresh of a pitch, if you get what I'm saying, to be saying, oh, it was freshly put down. I don't care. That looks artificial to me. But what's your take on it?
I'm not viewing too much into the injuries for per se. I think it could just be I didn't watch the game, and I'll go one better. I haven't seen any of the clips. All I know is the scoreline and who went off injured. Because, as you said, I've been away for the weekend, and like Julio says, I couldn't care less about pre-season friendlies. They are just about getting minutes on the pitch. So I'm not reading too much into the injuries. It looked like, from what the tweets were saying, that the artificial pitch may have had something to do with it. Twisted ankles or an ankle injury on the Euro itself.
So what the thing is, a hairline fracture is what the blood is coming out like. So, that puts about based until if you're thinking, it's definitely till nearly the Liverpool game if you're talking that way.
It's possible that he could miss a chunk of the first few games. Yeah, it's difficult to take. We've been so injury littered last season, and it really dampened everything that I thought Ten Hag had going for him at one point.
Yeah.
So to see injuries happen in the pre-season games that shouldn't mean anything. It is literally just about getting stamina up and fitness up. To see two players go off that are supposed to be, the second coming of this season and really boost our sort of chances of getting further up the league and making waves and cups and stuff. It's not easy, but again, I'm not bothered by the result. I'm not bothered by the penalty shootout. There was a funny clip that I saw of Ruud van Nistelrooy sitting on the bench and him sort of sat behind Ten Hag and Darren Fletcher. They were giving instruction. He was just sat there going,
I just to say, what the hell?
And I was just like, he was just so chilled. So that was quite fun to see. So I look forward to more Van Nistelrooy antics on the bench this season.
You know, And like even just to make a quick note of that, like the fact that we're actually getting taking managers from their managerial posts and bringing them in as coaching staff. It's not something I ever thought would ever happen. It's like fair enough, you hear of assistant managers going on to become managers themselves, and some will be more adapted to the assistant manager role than being an actual manager themselves.
It was obviously a big enough of a poll because he's obviously under the impression that he has a decent enough job to do at United. So he was obviously under the impression that he's got something to offer and give these young players that are coming through. And with this new regime in and their sort of transfer philosophy, if it's all about bringing in young players to boost them, then having a player like Ruud is, he'll bring you down to earth and also train you the way you need to be trained. Because even though he had his falling outs with Fergie, like many of the ex-United tenures did, he understands the philosophy that needs to be set and how these players should be trained and how they play. And they represent a lot more than just winning games. It's about the city and everything sort of like that. It's important to him to come back, I think.
And I think what's important, because I've had this discussion with a couple of different people, and they're more fearful of the fact that they're getting too many actual managers to come in as part of the coaching staff, that they might try and overrule Ten Hag and some of them. They're like, obviously, they wouldn't have taken the role if they hadn't felt their position was clear and what their role was. And like, kind of like we were saying there, Nathan, is the fact that if their role is set out a certain way and they know, look, you answer to Eric, you answer to no one else but Eric, you know your place. I think there's no issue from that there. Now, Julio, Callum, if either of you want to take that, because it's more of a case of, do you think any of them have the ego to try and overrun Eric on an issue, or would you say they know their place kind of thing? Oh, Callum, I think you're on mute there, mate.
I didn't even realise I put myself on mute. I think the head coach or former head coaches know why they've been brought into United. I think both Ten Hag and Ineos have recognised that the backroom staff and the coaches across probably medical as well needed a bit of an overhaul, and that's why these new coaches have come in. I don't think they've got any kind of ego to sort of overstep Ten Hag. I think they know Ten Hag's a head coach. I think obviously Van Nistelrooy obviously knows the club. I know Nate said about his experience, with Fergie falling out, but he's done really well at PSV. He's done some really good jobs as a head coach, and bringing that experience will be vital. I was more excited for the season before finding out Lenny Oro and Rasmus ended up getting these injuries, but it just seems to be a bit of a curse within the club at the minute with these injuries. So hopefully the news is fine, and it's hopefully the injury was better than we first saw, but only time will tell with that one.
Like, I suppose still probably where you look at it this way, I suppose, would they bring in Xerxes now to adapt into the club a little bit earlier, do you think? Or do you think it'll be a case of, unfortunately, another case of Hannibal being a false nine scenario for what Liverpool game? You got Real Betis on Thursday as well, so, or kind of Thursday morning, Wednesday night, you have to think about that as well.
Well, I think with that, I don't really think it's too much of an issue. Xerxes on his holiday, and a well-deserved holiday from his season last year. He obviously went away with the Netherlands with the Euros. I know he didn't play a lot, but he was still training every day. He was still with the club. He was still with the country every day. So he deserves a holiday after a long season last year and being away in the summer. So I don't think we need to rush anybody back. This is the issue we've had for so long. We rush players back. We haven't planned properly, and then they end up getting injured anyway. Leave him to his holiday, let him rest. Again, let's get all these, because pre-season isn't just about getting fitness as well for the players. It's also a chance for some of the younger players to go look to some of the other clubs out there. Look, I'm available for loan. This is what I can do for United on pre-season. I'd love to have a chance to play regular football with it being a club like Hugh Gill's gone to Wigan. He started off well, so it's a chance for some of these young lads to impress, to get their careers kick-started as well. So it's I wouldn't start rushing players back.
No, that's fair. And I suppose kind of take the point you said there about young players coming through. Harry Amass, as we kind of mentioned, do we see him as the long-term Shaw replacement, lads, or do you think is there
Yes.
someone else down the line? Well, when I say that, I mean, you have to look afar. You have to look to a different club and a different player to say he could be the long-term replacement. And I don't want to put the pressure on Harry Amass either, but from what we've seen, he's showing that I won't compare him to Shaw itself, but it's the way that Shaw came through at such a young age. He got the big move at was it 17, 18 to United, and he's been here since. So with the right qualities, and Julio, I'll get you to take up this one. I mean, it's just a case of we see what Harry Amass is able to do. Can he push on and do what Shaw did, break through at such a young age?
Possibly. I think what helps him is he's got one left back in front of him who's had a year off pretty much, and we don't know what he's going to be like coming back. And you've had another who has been very injury prone for a long time now. I think every year, obviously, we've seen a young player breaks into the first team. You've seen Garnacho and Mainu. I think maybe Toby Collier might be the one this year. I've been quite vocal in the sense of I want Amass to get at least another year in the 18s, maybe in the 23s as well. We can't keep throwing young players into the first team. It's not healthy. We've seen a few come in and do really well. We've seen many come in and almost fall off the deep end a little bit. And we've been a bit lucky with Garnacho and Mainu being, virtually bulletproof. I'm not against the idea of a Reguilon or someone coming in short term for basically nothing. I know we've almost criticized or almost slandered and criticized these kind of transfers over the years, but there is a clear pathway there, but you need to manage these younger players. And the last thing you want is Amass breaking in and, unfortunately he's the one who hits the bad luck and he gets a serious injury or something happens to him and then his career almost falls off because of that, because he looks like a very good young player. But I just think it's too soon for him for his age. I know if you're good enough, you're old enough, all that, but to protect the younger players, I think a year to marinate in the 23s would do him really good. If you're going to play him, because we also have Europa League this season and lots of cup games, he might get a few minutes here and there, but like the odd game, like you remember when Oli took all those young players to Kazakhstan a few years back. Very much.
Well, answer the question. I don't want you're hearing, Julio. Do you vote Tory?
Neither. I can't answer that because it's neither of them.
What about the Green Party in the UK? I don't know what you're like over there with them. The Green Party over here, we absolutely despise them. So,
lads, we use this as an opportunity to go away from the shit show politics. Can we keep it that way, please? Come on. Anyway, just final point in Amass is we might get the odd appearance here and there. We've seen it with other younger players in the past. Like Ethan Laird got a couple of appearances. Mengi got a couple of appearances.
Yeah.
Obviously, they went off and played elsewhere. But what I'm saying is with Amass, maybe similar to Mainu in Ten Hag's first season, a few minutes here and there. And then maybe in a year's time, maybe there's more of a clear pathway for him, especially when Shaw might go, Malacia might go, depending, who knows what's going to happen this time next year.
Because I suppose I was going to lead on that point in as to say what the future will hold for Darragh Malacia, given the fact that he's been out for so long, because we heard that he was back on grass training independently by himself, of course. But then there's a story that came out that he was involved in a road traffic collision as well the other day with a drunk driver, and it just doesn't sit right with me. I mean, there's always going to be something with him, just to say there's going to be something with Malacia that might set him back that little bit. And fair enough, you can't do anything with car accidents, I suppose, but at the same time, it just seems like there's another roadblock for him. So Nathan, if you want to take that, if it's a case of with Malacia, is it a case of do we still have to get someone else in, or do we just instantly promote Harry Amass in that aspect in, because we can't win with just Luke Shaw again unless we get someone like a left-sided centre back who can adapt to playing left back.
No, we either go down the route as what Yeah, we either go down the route of getting one of those transfers in that we don't like, but some of them have actually worked out really well. Like Reguilon, when he did play for us, he did put his heart and soul into it and did have some good moments. Obviously, what is not a long-term answer, but it will do us for 6 months.
Yeah.
If Malacia is likely to miss another season, because nobody seems to know what his injury status is. He could just be permanently injured, and he could just be contracted to a stupid amount to stay on for so long, and there's nothing we can do about it. It could just be one of those cases. If Shaw's injury record is anything to go by, yeah, we're going to have to go down the route of getting like a short-term loan, or you go down the route of getting a permanent transfer for a left back. But it just depends on what Ten Hag and Ineos's sort of money situation, their priorities and what positions they're looking at. If they're already filling out the positions that we all said before the season, last season, that we needed, and it seems to be going well so far. If they're looking at that sort of Harry Amass situation, they might be thinking, well, yeah, let's promote him because that will save us 60 million, or we'll get a 6 month loan or a January loan to fill that position if Luke Shaw can't fulfill his duties. I mean, he came on in the Euros and really made a difference and was really, really brilliant for England. But it just comes down to the fact of his injury situation. It might just not be enough to last us till January. So it might be something that we have to look into in the terms of a short-term loan, or Ineos may look at the fact that, let's promote this youngster because it will save us 60, 70 million.
Like, I mean, you talk about Reguilon and the fact that Spurs are looking to sell him off permanently. And they're like, he's 10 million from what the reports are saying. So they're like, wouldn't be the worst step in the dark to take him on for another 6 months and then we try and sell him on in January if we don't actually need him anymore. But as Keane points out, play Reece Russell left back. He's 6'6". He's not Dan Burn, lads. Come on. Who plays a 6 foot something left back? In all fairness, but then again, Julio, as he slightly points out, left back at home. Reece will be in the chat now any minute at you. But I suppose we're kind of talking about transfers, so we'll move on to transfers in that aspect because there's obviously 2 in the door. Ten Hag obviously will have more, lads. Let's be completely honest. We've heard the names. We've heard Ugarte to play the number 6 role. We've heard De Ligt to take in a centre back role. We have, depending on sales, we could possibly go for Brentwaite if Everton decide to actually have the balls to drop their price. I don't think they will. Oh, sorry. Before I continue any further, Keane comes in here. In other good news, Martinez's holidays are over and he's in individual training. I did not hear that. I only heard about Dallo and Bruno Fernandes, if I'm being honest. So, if that's true, that's great news. But I suppose if you're looking to fill up the market or fill up the spaces with squad depth and depth in good quality, I should point out, is there anyone else that I haven't mentioned that could be worth a shout? I suppose I've seen here Sass is actually after making the point for the left back, right back scenario. Apologies for butchering this name now, lad. Marozui, am I right in saying?
Yeah, his name's Mazraoui. I don't like these links because I just think for the right back spot, if I'm being honest, I think we're fine for a couple of years. I think the rest of the defense and the rest of the team needs more of a priority. You know, every team has that position in their team where they've got a decent player and a decent backup. Not every position needs to have, you know, like a Galactica or an all-star player. Do you know what I mean? And I think what you get, like Real Madrid have won the Champions League with an abundance of players playing at left back the last few years. Like they had Camavinga playing at one point, Ferland Mendy is looking all right now, but for a good while he wasn't. Yeah. I think what you get with Dalot and Wan-Bissaka, there's good players there and they're trump cards in their own right, especially Wan-Bissaka. We've seen evidence of that.
Oh, massively.
I kind of understand the Mazraoui link because it's a right back who arguably is better going forward, former Ten Hag player, and Bayern have an abundance of fullbacks. They've got too many players in their fullback positions. You know, it wouldn't surprise me if we were just looking at Bayern for whoever they were trying to offload because they've got lots of players in the defence who could arguably leave. But I just think that one thing we probably might even need to consider is in a year's time, Shaw and Malacia might both go, and then you might see a scenario where I don't know. Let's say Theo Hernandez at AC Milan, his contract situation isn't looking great for Milan. They might cash in a year's time for about 40, 50 million, and then they use Amass as a backup, or if they sign Regular now and he's the backup, then that could also happen. The ambition seems to be there by this new board, but I just think that I don't know. I'm not really. I don't really like the idea of us signing a right back when we've got two decent ones. One of which looks like we might sell for. I don't think it's really good value for money what we'd get, but on the other hand, you think about the contract situation as well. It's a business at the end of the day. That's what it is. But I just think.
I think sorry, Julie. I think that the reason with the Wan-Bissaka, because I actually agree with you, I don't think we should be selling him. To be honest, I think the problem is for us to be able to get any more players in at the moment. I think we're kind of reliant on sales. And Wan-Bissaka is one of the few players that we can probably sell. If you were to ask me, I'd probably agree and say I think we keep Wan-Bissaka. We go spend 10 million quid or 8 million quid, whatever it is, on Regulon, get a backup left back, and then go and solve some of the other issues around the squad. I just don't think we need. I don't think right now the right back issue is one of our bigger issues. I think the fact that Shaw is again an injury away from us not really having anybody and throwing in a potential 17-year-old kid, which wouldn't be fair on Amass. I think there's a major issue still within the midfield, a really, really big issue. It looks like Casemiro might be staying now. It looks like Sancho now might be staying. Anthony, I've heard nothing about him going. Annoyingly. So there's players there that I think that we needed to sell before Wan-Bissaka, but unfortunately I think Wan-Bissaka is the easiest one to sell because he's a very good player who will be very good for some other teams, and they are, and he's collecting interest. Hence why I don't think the money that we're asking for him is a pittance as well for someone as good as he is defensively as well. He does have his flaws, and I would still argue that an upgrade on Wan-Bissaka is needed. But I don't think it's needed now. I think the left backup is something that we need because Malacia looks like I've heard rumours of him having to retire because of his knee problems. So if we're going to be looking at needing sales, I get it on that basis because he's one of the few players we can sell. But I really think we should be looking at the left side of the defence before we sell Wan-Bissaka, and we certainly should be looking at the midfield. And if that's the case, I think we should be throwing everything at selling the likes of Sancho and Anthony, because unfortunately us not being able to sell Sancho and Anthony made us lose out on a lease to Bayern Munich, which is a massive loss, I think. So there's players in that squad that I definitely think should be being sold first, but the interest has got to be there for those players to be sold.
Now, having said that, no, there's the talk with PSG looking at Sancho. No, depending on who you want to believe in the reports and all this, they're saying was it Santi GFM was saying that Sancho was after agreeing personal terms with PSG. Now, whether again, this is the thing, depending on who you want to believe in the transfer reporting these days, he could be on his way to PSG. But at the same time, I remember seeing Fabrizio said that Sancho was on PSG's list, but he's not a main priority. So it's just a matter of who is willing to take on Sancho. I suppose, like, we thought, great, Dortmund will take him, but of course they weren't willing to stump up to at least 35 million we were at least asking from, and now where they're like, okay, we can charge more. Now that Dortmund aren't going to pay that much, so it's a tough one. It's a tough one because, like, we're still gonna, like, for the next couple of years, we are gonna be stung by the fact of we paid so much for these players over the last few years of the Glazer regime, and I'm not going to lie, it's going to be a bumpy ride for the next couple of years because we know that's the reason why we're going to have trouble offloading players. Like, it's the reason we've had trouble offloading players the last 10 years, to be more exact. It is what it is. For as bad as it was, I'm willing to stick with it, and if Sancho is actually willing, like, I've had this discussion with Keane, and we've all had this discussion in the group chat as well. If Sancho is willing to actually give the right attitude, give the right, he doesn't have to be dragged through the mud to play for United, basically, as I would say. I'll take him back in open arms. I'm still very much a case of get him out of the club because he didn't ever come in with the right attitude. It's a tough
think Sancho's got a lot of making up to do, I think, to the fans. I think he was back. I was at the game when he came back from his stint away for his mental health issues, and the whole stadium chanted his name and clapped him every time he ran up the sidelines to warm up. So for him so whatever falling out he had with Ten Hag, it was the fact that he was turning up late for training and doing things outside of football that kind of showing his focus was elsewhere. The thing that I think a lot of fans were annoyed with Sancho about was the backing he received from match-going fans at Old Trafford. It felt like he threw that in people's faces. People are going to have disagreements with managers and they're going to have falling outs, especially in high-level sport. But the backing he got from the supporters, both, I'd like to think, majorly within the stadium, but potentially outside the stadium as well. And it felt like he was kind of laughing at us a little bit. And he's got a lot of work to do, I think, to claw that trust back. And the thing is, with United fans, is we will always back our players, to be fair, but he has got a bit of making up to do, I think.
Yeah, no, because I agree with you, because I was at the Leicester game. He scored, and I just remember the roar because of the fact that, yes, okay, he scored against Leeds, he scored against Leicester. We're on a good run here. It looked like, okay, Sancho's back to his best. And then he kind of fell off again. He kind of came back toward the end of the season, scoring against Fulham the last game of the season. Again, a good roar for him considering the 6 months he had. Thinking, okay, this is great. And then come August, it all changed. So, like, I've had my fair share of opinions about some players. I won't bother mentioning the players now because I could be here all day talking about some of them especially. But, like, I will always back them as long as they're a Man United shirt. Even if I feel their attitude isn't the greatest, I will still back them till the day they go. As soon as the characters announced, I'm there like, okay, you're no longer a Man United player. I will say what I want about you. And that is that. And, like, as we're talking about players and having the right attitude, I think the son of a legend has the attitude. Because have any of you seen this clip that Keane points out here of Quite Rooney doing the drills and then just belting it off his left foot? Like, Keane's put in here saying he looks a star in the making, and if there was training clips or anything to go by, and once he gets up to the under 18s, I think we'll get a better idea as to how he actually is. But if these clips are anything to go by,
I have seen him, to be fair, and he looks very good, to be honest.
yeah, I don't call it space. That's Julio Nathan. Have you seen the clip in question? No,
I'm watching it right now, but let's be fair. If he's half the player his dad was, he's going to be absolutely fine.
Yeah, no, like,
if he's got a smidge of the genetics of football from his dad, he's going to be absolutely fine.
Because people talk about Wayne Rooney, and you'd say like, oh, who's the greatest Man United striker ever? And like, I remember someone said it to me the other day, and not yet the other day, it was like last week, and someone put a question to me: who would you say is your all-time United number 9? And it was like Rooney, Ruud van Nistelrooy, and a couple others. And I actually said Ruud van Nistelrooy simply on the basis that Rooney was never actually an out-and-out number 9. Ruud van Nistelrooy was. And it's when you think of it that way, it's like Rooney did what he did at United, and he wasn't an out-and-out 9. He dropped from playing as a number 9. He kind of played second striker. He was out left sometimes. He finished his United career basically as a midfielder, as crazy as it was, just because I think it's a case that his legs just didn't have the strength to be going up as a number 9 or as number 10 all the time. So playing that midfield role kind of suits him a bit better. So I still commend what Rooney done, because at the end of the day, he is a United legend. He'll be considered a United legend as, in my books, higher than someone said, is Ronaldo more of a United legend than Rooney? I said no. Rooney's done more, I think, as United. When you talk about an overall career, Ronaldo obviously a better player, but Rooney at United, when you compare the two of them at United, night and day, in my opinion.
Well, Rooney was obviously with us for longer, and he did so much more for the club.
Yeah, it's like
and Rooney was probably the best. One, he's definitely in the top 3 of United players I've seen in my lifetime. I think.
Yeah, I would agree.
It depends on the day. If you ask me where in that top 3, I suppose.
That's true.
But
Yeah.
I can never solidly give a confident answer because it just depends on who it is. But Rooney was arguably one of the best players to ever play for the club. So he obviously did a lot more for the club than Ronaldo did. And I think the problem with Ronaldo as well is he kind of soured his reputation when he came back the second time. And I still don't think we should have ever signed Ronaldo back. I was obviously being very excited at the time, but the thing is with Rooney is I think it's hard to compare them really because Rooney did so much for the club and for the team and accommodated Ronaldo as well, which is probably why he is someone that's so much more loved than Ronaldo, I think, at the club.
And like it's just the way like you say that about Ronaldo, but the second time like Keane would probably say it himself. We should have never signed him. Like I'll be straight. Someone asked me that there last long ago. They said, "Do you actually think the club should have signed Ronaldo?" And I answered with a smile on my face. And I answered no, but I had a smile on my face as if to say it was nice for the first couple of months, but then even after the first couple of months, you could
the novelty wore off pretty quick. I think we enjoyed it for like the first few games when he got us out of the shit. And then when he started sort of, who got benched and didn't really take it very easily, the novelty wore off of fans pretty quick. And you could tell he was just pissed off. And it was like, well, you're not the Ronaldo we sold. Not to say you're not like the Ronaldo, but you know what I mean? Like, well, you're not the Ronaldo we sold, so we're not going to treat you the same as that Ronaldo.
Oh, but this is the thing though, because I remember how many times I nearly screamed the house down during that first season loan, just simply because he dragged us out of the shit. Yeah. And I'm just there like even my missus gives out to me so much because she's there like, well, you like him when he's at United, but as soon as he leaves, you don't like him. And I'm there like, it's because of the way it happened at the end. So I was there like, it's just because of how everything finished up with the second time with the interview and everything. I was there like, if he was, after leaving United, done the interview, I'd say absolutely nothing. But it's how he went about it at the end. And I will always stand by that point. Actually, just as I see here, Simon Roberts is coming with a comment.
No, don't read it. Don't read it.
No, stop.
Oh, Jesus Christ. I was just about to cop it. No, never mind. No.
I'll tell you what, the day we signed Ronaldo, I'd do that again. That was a fun experience. And at Newcastle at home, I'd do that again, but that's it. Yeah?
Can you actually remember where you were, though?
Yeah, I was at work that day.
I was at work, but I was driving, so I'm a truck driver, and I remember all morning it was like, oh, City are this close, and it's pretty much done and dusted. And then I was getting texts from my mate saying, oh, he's going to City. And then minutes later, it came on TalkSport, and it just completely changed that. Actually, no, he's literally just walked in the door at Carrington, and he's signing a contract. It's the done deal. And it was like, what the fuck has just happened? It was mad of a day. I remember.
It was just a case of, oh my God. Like, I remember I was at work in the security guard shop I was working at the time. He turned around to me, like, he's an Arsenal fan. He goes, have you heard you're saying Ronaldo? I goes, oh, stop taking the piss, Stephen. He goes, no, seriously, look at your phone right now. It's live, it's happening. I goes, right, hang on now. What the fuck? Like, that was my instant reaction. Like, it was one of those absolutely bonkers moments. And I was just there like, huh? Is this actually happening? It's like, as we were just kind of saying there, like, the novelty wore off fairly quick. Though, fair enough. Like I said, it was great because he was dragging us out of the shit. He was doing those clutch Ronaldo moments like he always did. You just kind of have to look back and think, was it or wasn't?
It was more the nostalgia and the fact that he'd come back, and we always wanted him to and stuff like that. But it was very apparent and very evident that he was not the Ronaldo that left United and the Ronaldo that was at Real Madrid and sort of at Juventus. Ronaldo made it all about Ronaldo, and Ronaldo just wanted to score goals. He didn't care if the team lost. And I genuinely think his signing got Solskjaer sacked. I will still to this day say If we didn't sign Ronaldo and signed Declan Rice, I think Solskjaer would still be manager now.
And that's a fair point, because like when you look back at it, it's actually a valid point to make, simply on the basis of who was in the club at the time and what the process was going to be. Because we could clearly see by the end of the 2021 season, at this point, my years are all mixed up now, that the clear-cut plan was you have a certain someone being back up to Edison Cavani. Cavani was going to lead the line with that person coming through as the backup and learning off of Cavani's experience. And like, it was the good flowing football. It was all the ball is known as, but it was such good football. And you call it vibes football. I don't care. It was a good time to watch Man United, and I'm not going to be ashamed to say that. It was just how it all turned out, because okay, fair enough, certain things happened, whether these things would have come to light if all of this hadn't happened, who knows, because we all know that Cavani, as professional as he was, he did apparently kick up a stink about the whole Ronaldo taking number 7, but like, let's be honest, it's Ronaldo, it's number 7, it's a trademark at this point. You're going to have to put up with it, really, if you ask me, because it's just the way it all ended. And you can think what could have been. It's just madness, really, to think about it.
Yeah, it was a marketing signing, and Mendes and Ronaldo used City to get United to sign him. It was simple as that. It was a marketing signing that the Glazers wanted so bad because it'd make money. The thing is, if you remember rightly, Man United's transfer business that summer was actually finished. The whole club, everybody could see that we needed a number 6, and we weren't signing anyone until Ronaldo became available. So we were still going to be left in the shit a little bit because we weren't going to be signing anyone, and it was only Ronaldo that made the Glazers actually go, oh, all right, we'll sign somebody else then, because we weren't getting anyone else. Well, that was our summer done. And I think if we'd have signed somebody for the good of our football club and not for the good of their pockets, then it could have been very different for Solskjaer. And I think the fact that Solskjaer admitted himself that it was a mistake to sign him.
It's a damning sign, really.
Yeah, exactly.
But like, I suppose on that note, then really, I think there's no other way to finish up to say that was the last and clear sign of Glazeronomics in Manchester United Football Club. And I think at that point, we'll wrap it up there, lads.
Absolutely.
It was good to be back again, guys. I won't lie. Not doing hosting for a while, I was there like, oh, okay, let's see how this goes. But you're right, it wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. Julio, Nathan, Callum, thanks as always for coming back on again, guys. And to anyone who's joining us from Twitter, we have the clip going back up on YouTube after, and then we have the audio going up onto Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcast from. So with that, lads, we will say good night. Good night, and God bless.